today I wanted to answer a question regarding doing Kegels in the early postpartum phases. So I used to suggest to patients that it is okay that they do Kegels after they give birth. But one thing that I think is really crucial for you to understand is that I actually don't believe that now. I think it's really individual, and this is why it's extremely important to have pelvic expert PT, physical therapy during your pregnancy, so you know what's happening down there. You know what your pelvic organs are doing, what your tendencies are, so you know how to contract your pelvic floor. And the reason this is so important, and you may not want to be doing Kegels after you deliver postpartum, is because if your pelvic organs are super heavy, which they always are postpartum, that means that the uterus, the bladder, is being pushed down and descended into the pelvic canal, into the vaginal canal. And when those organs are below the line of the pelvic floor, if you squeeze your pelvic floor, so let's do it like this. The pelvic floor is a bowl. If you squeeze your pelvic floor, but your bladder is down here, you're effectively like pushing your bladder out more when you actually do a Kegel. So Kegels might not be safe for you postpartum. And so it's not okay to just like start doing Kegels if you have your pelvic organs in a lower place, which 90% of people who have given birth, that's just my own stat, not a legit stat, but people who have given birth always have heavy pelvic organs, hence why Kegels aren't indicated initially. So you want to be able to build up to Kegels and get your organs in a position that allows you to start doing Kegels or pelvic floor contraction, but you're not going to be there right after birth. I'm definitely not there, and I'm 2.5 weeks postpartum right now, and it will be a while before I can like just start doing Kegels. And so where you should start is with a transverse abdominis contraction and breathing. Those are the 2 videos that we put out last week. You can find them on our social media, on our blog, on our YouTube, and they're the videos that really show you where to start postpartum. Breathing is number 1, contracting your transverse abdominis is number 2. So I'll just take you through what I do right now, and I'm going to do it in a standing position. Technically, when I'm doing this at home, I am actually doing it laying down. But, okay, so if my hands are on my belly and I take a deep breath into my belly, that's my diaphragmatic breath. What I do is I pair that with my exhale. So on the exhale, I'm making a shh sound, contracting my transverse abdominis. When I'm doing this, you see that slight elevation happen. So you see that contraction, there's a lift. What I need to make sure I'm doing when I do that lift is I relax my butt, so my butt's not contracting, and I also cue to my pelvic floor to open. And how I do this is I think, flare your anus. Okay, so that's how I connect to my pelvic floor. But when I'm TAing, when I do that TA, the transverse abdominis contraction, also called a TA, once I do that, I connect to my anus. I'm like, okay, make sure you're relaxed, but you're relaxed. Okay, now I isolate and hold this TA for 10 seconds. Let it go. Hold that TA for 10 seconds. Connecting to pelvic floor, relaxing my anus, kind of almost like making sure I'm not contracting. I'm not pushing it out, but I'm making sure it's open and letting it go. So this is really crucial. This is what to do postpartum. You don't want to be starting with Kegels. The only time you should really start with Kegels is once you know what's happening and you've been directed so by a pelvic expert physical therapist. If you're doing Kegels before you get the okay from your pelvic expert physical therapist, you're gonna be at risk for creating more of that hypertonicity, which means a really tight pelvic floor. So it's gonna make return to intercourse uncomfortable. It could increase your bladder leakage, but it's also gonna increase the descent of your pelvic organs. So it can be pushing your organs out further if you're not contracting with them above your pelvic floor. So I hope that's helpful. Start with the transverse abdominis, start with the breathing. You can find those in our other episodes, or just follow that exercise that I just gave you. I hope that's helpful. But everyone needs to be under the guidance of a pelvic expert physical therapist before they return to their routines. This is essential for keeping your core healthy and strong. You might feel great, but it doesn't matter because 10 years from now, your body will show you what's happening if you don't help really restore and get the patterns correct now. So hope that's helpful.